All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
File deleted.
Delete it? What?
This is what Sean's joy looks like.
Wake up, everybody. Today is Thursday, September 10th, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch Palashi, joined by my co-host, Sean Mibers, because we can't find Jason.
RoboSean has been unsuccessful.
RoboSean has been what?
Unsuccessful. My map function is not very good.
Jason?
Yeah.
I don't know if we programmed you to find him.
I'm pretty sure I'm only programmed to nerd and kill, so...
Which one happened? We'll find out. If you decide you like us and you want to know where in the world is Jason San Diego, you can find us at neverfreetoplay.com, patreon.com/neverfreetoplay, or on all the other social media where we are Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Sean, how you doing?
I have a house.
Wow! Congratulations!
So I'm doing great. It immediately has like a camping chair and near an outlet where my laptop is currently plugged in, or spends most time plugged in. But it's my house, and all my stuff arrives on Tuesday, so I'm doing pretty great.
That's great. Yeah, I saw a picture. It's a little bare bones. It's a minimalistic kind of thing,
well,
like you said.
I really just need the charging station at the end of the day, but the wife likes to have a couple extra luxuries.
She's so picky.
But
that's why we love them. I'm good. I am tired. It's been a week. I feel like even it's so crazy. Like school started again. We're in the third week of school. And then like so did a bunch of other stuff, but we're still pretty much at home all the time. Like it's all like Zoom call this and Zoom call that.
Yeah.
Bible studies and again, school at home all the time. Again, it's going well, and yet somehow I still feel overwhelmed. I don't know why. I'm broken in my brain.
It's probably all that extra lifting you had to do because Jason disappeared somewhere.
Ah, that was good. Ha, ha, ha. It's true. My back is tired from carrying the show. No, I edited it last week, so if you didn't like it, I'm sorry. I think I did a pretty good job. The video portion sucks. I will admit that it's not good. It's still image of Sean.
I mean, that the right side of the video just bores into your soul and actually makes you want to go insane if when you were just faking it earlier.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at it too long if I were you. Maybe just skip over to the podcast feed. For just this week, we'll figure something out. But if we're lucky, Jason will have some free time to go ahead and take a crack at it or show me some of the finer nuances to what he does. Like I missed, there's that banner on the video that has the logo with the sun and the mowing man and all that. I didn't know where that was exactly. I didn't remember that portion because I almost never watched the video. I didn't remember that portion until I was pretty much finished, and I said I am not going back and fixing this. So anyway,
clearly Jason has made himself the indispensable member of this podcast and doesn't probably appreciate being replaced.
He is absolutely indispensable. Jason, come back. Speaking of Jason, where is Jason? Do you know where Jason is, Sean?
I'm gonna go with just that he's playing Skyrim. That Skyrim has eaten his life, and he probably got Skyrim VR, and it's kind of like like I talked about last week. If I did it with the Skyrim Inception, he lives in Tamriel and Skyrim now.
You took it right out of my mouth. I was gonna say he bonked his head and he woke up and to the words, "Hey, you're finally awake." The guy in the wagon, he's off to get his head chopped off, but he doesn't.
He is Dovahkiin now.
He is Dovahkiin, and we wish him well. So that's where Jason is this week. He's in Skyrim. That's what it's called, right? The land is called Skyrim.
Yeah, so it's one of the provinces of Tamriel.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I know things. All right, so that's where Jason is, and maybe he'll be in Skyrim next week. Maybe he'll be in Oblivion, or maybe he'll be in Morrowind, or maybe he'll be in the Mushroom Kingdom. We don't know. We're gonna keep tabs on it because
elsewhere. I don't know if you know, but Elsewhere is actually a land in Tamriel.
I was playing along, but no idea. No idea. I had a good guess, but I had no idea. A little bit of housekeeping. Like, sub, follow. Be like my mom and follow us on Twitter and like all of our posts there because she's really good about that. So, be like my mom.
Moms are so supportive.
Sean's got a shout out, so go ahead with your shout out, Sean.
It's a shout out to my friend Jess, who, when I went into the back room at their house to go record my podcast, was like, "Wait, you do a podcast?" And then promised that she would listen to it. So, hey Jess, if you listen to it, thanks for listening, and thank you for letting me use your back room to record a podcast, because I have a house, but I don't have internet yet.
But yes, thank you, Jess, for this opportunity for my good friend Sean to have somewhere to lay his head and speak his thoughts. And then Jason said something that we got wrong, but he's a liar and he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I'm not even going to add that correction because I don't even remember what it was. Because we got some big news to talk about. We're going to talk about it right now. Boom. Next gen is mostly here. The Xbox Series S. We'll start with the leak. Real early on in the week, the Xbox Series S was leaked and then almost immediately confirmed. I think that was Tuesday morning.
Yeah,
maybe Wednesday morning. So yeah, I remember just like oh wow, that was fast.
Did you see? So Microsoft's Twitter account had like the post confirming the leak, but did you see their post before they confirmed the leak?
I did. I saw it after the fact.
The little awkward monkey puppet.
Yeah, he's doing like the sideways look and then he's like looking away. It's really funny. So yes, the Xbox Series S. This is their budget model. Was leaked and subsequently confirmed. It is all digital. It is next gen, so this isn't some sort of like weaker, won't be able to play certain games kind of situation. It is not as powerful as the Xbox Series X, but for the most part, that power reduction really only has to do with resolution when it comes to native 4K and then future 8K resolutions.
Right.
It'll be able to upscale, but otherwise, they're claiming that there will be no like difference in like load times and frame rates and all the fun stuff that we really care about. And it comes in at $300, which is very inexpensive, especially for a next gen console. It's crazy that it's that cheap. It is small and
I think
white.
you have to go back to the GameCube era. To find when consoles launched that cheap.
Yeah, because the GameCube was comparable to the PS2 and Xbox, so it's not like it was really weak too. No, it was definitely comparable, and not that either any of those consoles were super expensive, but it was, I think, the cheapest.
Yeah, I think so.
It looks like a speaker. It's got an SSD, but it is only half a terabyte, so that's 512 gigabytes, which for some people is going to be a huge problem because they like to make a big problem out of these kinds of things. I personally wouldn't have a problem. I only play one game at a time. I almost never want a game like sitting on the back burner, and if I do, it's going to be a small one, like an old game, like a Final Fantasy or something.
Yeah, it's not going to take a lot. Even then, I mean, on the Xbox One, I mean, admittedly, it doesn't have the solid-state drive, but I would sit there and I would rotate games. For like $45, I picked up like a 2 terabyte hard drive a while back, and I would just like, all right, I'm like, especially like multiplayer games that I may want to hop on and play. Like I think I have the Master Chief Collection still on there. I just rotated it back. Yeah, I may pay in a slightly longer load time, but it's not like it's a huge deal for a game that I'm only occasionally playing, and then that way I still have it there.
Yeah. I mean, the bigger concern, rather than the rotating thing, that's the luxury, is that some people do have a very legitimate issue with it when it comes to either the speed of which it takes something to download. We're talking days, depending on where you're living, or you've got a cap, and you literally can't, except for when you plan it ahead of time, and so it's a logistical hurdle. But at the end of the day, you're paying for the cheaper console, so make your decision now. You have the other option, because the other option is the Xbox Series X with a release date and price confirmed. Finally, the game of chicken is over.
$500 blinked, and by blinked I meant somebody told the world, and they went, "All right, yeah, sure."
No, Microsoft slammed it down on the table. That's really how this actually ended up going. But so price confirmed at $500. And November 10th is the release date. And as I mentioned, it is the beefier of them. It will have a disk drive, and then, yes, has a 1 terabyte SSD. So, Sean, what are your thoughts and your feelings about this? How do you feel now that the information is out there?
Honestly, I mean, I know the big question was whether or not, with all the power that Microsoft has put into the Series X, if that was going to come in at $600 and they're going to find themselves at potentially the cost disadvantage again. I think coming in at 500 really is going to put the some pressure on Sony. I know people like to talk about, well, Sony dominated this last generation, and they certainly did, but you only have to go back one generation before that to really see parity between the sales of the Microsoft and the Sony console. So I think Microsoft is starting themselves off well here. The other big thing I'd like to see out of this was Microsoft released a video, and it was comparing the Xbox One S and the Xbox Series S playing Outer Worlds. And I think the idea was, like loading into a continued game, the One S had like a load time of nearly a minute, and the Series S had a load time of like 12 seconds. So basically to load the entire game plus your save file was down. The number they gave was 77%. That's just, to me, is gonna be incredible. I've gotten, especially some of these other games where you sit there and like you load it up and you hit like, all right, continue, and it's like, all right, now this is the time where I get up and I go to the bathroom and I get my drink and my snack for this play session, and then when I sit back down, I'm going to wait another 15 seconds and then the game will load. I mean, really kind of showing the benefit of and to me a more tangible benefit than we've seen with compared to some of the stuff Sony has showed on the speed of that solid state drive.
It's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The price thing is I'm still kind of like, wow, $300. That's, and I know it's digital only. And I think quarantine and COVID taught a lot of people that they're actually pretty much okay with it. And obviously we're just trending towards an all digital future in the video games industry anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, and Microsoft, I mean, going down this route between Game Pass and then xCloud coming out, still later this month.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, the especially if you are in an area with good internet and unlimited internet. I mean, you're looking at a machine that's going to let you play next gen for a very competitive entry price, and then hey, yeah, all right, it's digital, but you have all these means of even for all we know, if you're using xCloud, you might be able to stream the game to Series X performance levels. So. I mean, I'm going to have to sit here and really think about it. I may consider getting the Series S instead of the Series X, and just because of that price point difference, and because of the fact that the native 4K is not a huge deal to me.
Right, exactly. My TVs are old. I plan on getting a new one, but like I honestly just could not care less about that, at least for the near future. I probably just, but. We talk about this all the time, Jason and I just don't plan on getting an Xbox of any kind because I have a PC, and I do plan to upgrade that within the next 5 years at the latest, probably sooner. And so I'll be moving on to the PS5 when I have the funds to do so. But still, like, cheaper doesn't always win. But when you have other good reasons to get a console and it's cheaper, I often find it comes out ahead or becomes incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
And the value's there. And speaking of value, this was not the only greatly priced thing that Microsoft announced. They also announced that Game Pass is partnering with EA Play, which is their rebranded EA Origin thingy service, at no additional cost. So you will be able to play all of the same games that EA offers on its digital service on your Xbox or on your PC at no additional cost. So if you are an Ultimate Pass member on console, or you have I think it's still $5, so they'll probably up it eventually, on PC, you have all those additional games from EA.
Which is
presumably all their sports games.
I'll say I got on before this, and I was looking at just the ones that were going to be available on the Xbox. I mean, it's a good, like, 40 or 50 games. And I mean, a lot of them are like sports games, which, hey, if that's your thing, congrats, you just got all your sports games in one place. But I mean, you have all of the Mass Effects are in there. Titanfall 2 is in there. So again, if you have Game Pass now, go play Titanfall 2, because I need people who are worse at it than I am playing that game still, so I can do well. But then, just, I mean, a lot of games. And some of these have rotated through Game Pass on their own, but aren't on there now. And so, I mean, really, you've substantially added some, and especially, I mean, I think all the Dragon Ages as well are in there. Anthem, if you want to see what a fiasco that was, you can now do it for free as part of your Game Pass.
Man, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I'm very curious. I doubt while we're here to find out, like, I mean, is this a temporary thing? Is this going to be just Game Pass from going forward is with EA? And if so, like, what led to this partnership between Microsoft and EA?
Yeah, because EA has been pushing their thing for the longest time. They're trying to build up a platform of their own, and obviously they haven't abandoned it. If you want, I guarantee you can still pay just EA to access only EA games. But if you can snag someone this big, and now if you're gonna be flaunting the big bucks, it's gonna be at launch, and it's gonna be halfway through the cycle. So obviously now's that time, but like it really kind of opens the door to anything is possible. Like it could be Ubisoft next, because EA has a lot of...
Ubisoft brought forward by a week the release date of Assassin's Creed Valhalla to coincide with the release of the Series X.
Which isn't a huge thing, but it's something.
But like,
because like,
what's a week? It's now probably between that and Cyberpunk. I mean, those are your big next gen games that are coming out. And that, at least now you'll be able to snag that the same day that you go and snag your Series X, which probably will help sell games for Ubisoft. But really just gives if Sony releases after Microsoft now, I mean that's another little feather in the cap Microsoft has going into this generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, cause like for EA's got a lot of games. Obviously their biggest money makers are their sports games, their annualized features like Battlefield and stuff. But they do have a handful of single players, and Respawn, is probably their most premier studio, if I had to say right now.
Damn right.
And that's right. I know they own BioWare. But Respawn's probably their most premier studio right now, because they've got... I mean, they had Titanfall. Titanfall's kind of, aside from Sean's got it on his shoulders. He's propping it up. But aside from that, it's on the back burner. And in Jedi Fallen Order, it does have some content coming out, or it did come out like a few months ago. I don't remember anymore. It was like story stuff too, or if not story stuff, pretty significant stuff. And then finally they have what's their
Apex
battle
Legends.
royale? Thank you, Apex Legends. And so those are three, Apex Legends obviously already free, but you're going to get more of that, presumably anyway. Roll Magic Ball, next Star Wars game comes out in a year, the next Jedi Fallen Order kind of game.
Yeah.
I imagine it's going to be day and date on, your Xbox.
Or
again, on Game Pass anywhere.
And Battlefront 2 are both on that EA Play, so you're getting those as well.
Mm-hmm. Not super expensive now, but again, like if you haven't played it yet, you were probably never going to buy it, but now you might get in, and that's something that I would very much, because I've always wanted to play them, but I was never ever going to buy them,
right?
And so now I might. And this is cool too, because it's a little bit of hope for the future, because we talk about this a lot too, both in games and other media, having to do that subscription juggle. Or ending up paying way too much for too many subscriptions, and it's just like cable all over again. To see them kind of fuse together, and then prices might go up eventually to accommodate such a big company like EA or an Activision or an Ubisoft joining in the fray later. But that I'll take a $5 hike over having to pay and manage and cancel and juggle like 6 of them at once.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially like I just with the move, I spent today changing all my addresses, and that makes you really recognize how how many things. It's not like most of these things are shipping things to me, but you got to if you're not, unless you're paying with PayPal, which I got smart this time and shipped most of them to that. You got to sit there and put in your billing address for all of them. It's like, God, I did not realize how many things I had that I was signed up for until I had to sit there and change all of them.
Yeah, that sucks. All right, so yeah, this is Xbox just bringing the value, so much value, and that $300 on the Series S, they're probably taking a cut on that, but with all digital, they'll probably make it back quickly, because
absolutely.
That 30% cut is nothing to sneeze at. and they're going to be getting that revenue. And I think I didn't put it here because I only saw it in like a graphic, but I'm pretty sure it's still a thing. Because they announced this a while ago, kind of went under the radar. But basically, if you can put, I guess you would call it layaway, but basically you can pay for a brand new Series X or S for that matter, in installments, but you do have to get signed up for Ultimate. So it kind of gets worked into that, but it only ends up being like $25 or $28 a month.
I want to say the Series S was like 25 and the Series X was like maybe 34, 35, something like that. But what was incredible was, you end up, I think it's interest free. You pay it across 2 years, but it includes across that time for no additional cost, Game Pass Ultimate. So Ultimate, if you do it that way, you will pay across those 2 years less for the console. Now, I mean, obviously Microsoft's benefit there is then they have you locked into Game Pass, and hopefully you like Game Pass and you keep Game Pass, and then they'll get your monthly $15 on Game Pass. But in and of itself, normally I'll save up and I'll buy these, all in one go. But there's enough of a money savings there that part of me's kind of tempted to actually go down the installment route just because it'll extend my Game Pass for 2 years.
It's the weakest link in our society, is breaking up something super expensive into smaller monthly payments. That's how they get us. That's how they've always gotten us. That's how they're going to keep getting us. Like now that I'm saying it out loud, like it's probably the most likely way I might get an Xbox. Like, I really hope Sony does something like this so I can buy it. Like I will do that if Sony offers a similar service or option, payment plan. There we go. That's the one, payment plan. I will do that day one. I want a PS5 bad enough to be able to pay a monthly fee to get it right away and then have it paid off and whatever, because it's like it's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
It's fine, sure, whatever. And I could put it on a credit card, but it's not the same. It's not the same. There's no interest here. So a lot of value, a lot of fun. Now it's Sony's move. What do you think they do? When do you think they move? Are they coming? Is it happening?
I mean, I would be shocked at this point if Sony didn't come out with something in the next week.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I feel like the biggest thing I remember with Sony a while back was their president, or maybe their president for PlayStation, talking about how like they were going to focus on what was it? Yeah, they were going to focus on the experience this generation. And I remember that got some people being like, well, wait, are you basically saying like you're not like this is going to be an expensive console and trying to prep people for that? And I don't. Right. If let's say even if the PS5 comes out like $550 with maybe the discless version coming at $500, I'm not entirely sure what that does to the dynamic. Just going back to that when PS3 launched at $600. And it did not have a really, as good of a run as PS2 and PS4 had. I'm very interested to see what that does. Mainly at the same time, I mean, Sony is definitely currently winning the exclusive and quality exclusive titles game by a long shot. But obviously Microsoft does have this kind of merging everything with PC, but I don't know. I certainly think that Microsoft and the Xbox is better off at the start of this generation than they were at the start of the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 generation, where they just kind of stumbled all over themselves.
Yeah. Funnily enough, launching an all-digital console.
Yeah, I would say that is one thing. It's like, although, something that apparently was just totally faux pas last generation with the digital console is now like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, people have been making memes and jokes about it and like, oh, ahead of their time. Like, I mean, yes, technically you can literally say that, but at the same time, they also read the room so incorrectly.
Oh, yeah.
That, like, you just can't do that.
I thought the same thing where like they were going to require you when playing the games, you had to be online, and people were like, what? Always online? And now you look at like the Destinies and the Divisions and all those where you can't, even though you can play those games largely as single player experiences, you have to have an internet connection in order to play them.
Yeah, and that's fine if that's that game, but I still stand by the fact that if it doesn't need it, don't force it. Like, literally, what is the point? Because you're technically, unless you go out of your way to disconnect from the internet, you're still connected and you're still sending them data. But I just don't need I don't need an open, like, constant connection, I guess is what I'm saying. But yeah, so like I wish I had unlimited time and money for a lot of reasons. But because like I wish, because right now, like even thinking into the future, like God of War 2, Ratchet and Clank, whatever Spider-Man game is, next Sucker Punch, like I can just rattle off 5 or 6, maybe even like 7 or 10 games that I know are coming to the PS5, like without a doubt. If not exclusively, at least for like that, you know, like a timed exclusive thing. Like, I guarantee they're going to want to try to lock down the next Final Fantasy VII Remake installment. So I'm going to have to buy that console. And if I have to choose, at least at the beginning, I'm going to choose PS. You know, it's like, but I really wish I could, aside from just saying how much I like the idea of it, I wish I could reward Xbox from a consumer standpoint. Like, yeah, I really, and I mean, I'm paying into their ecosystem. I'm on the Xbox Game Pass train, and I'm going to do the xCloud thing. I'm going to try that out, and hopefully it's pretty cool. But unfortunately, because of exclusives, I'm still going to be, Horizon. I can't believe I forgot Horizon. I'm still going to be a PS5 guy. So, oh well.
And I don't think you're alone on that. I think that's the carryover from last gen. That's really gonna, is at least I think the word that starts this generation.
And I guess I'm selling Sony. Sorry, go ahead.
What I think is going to be interesting is in like 2 years' time, especially when these consoles start coming down in price, is probably when we'll start seeing a lot of those studios that Microsoft bought up at the end of last generation. The Obsidians and whatnot start to put out some of their exclusives, and I think that'll be interesting, because then we might, there's a chance that we'll start to see Microsoft having some pretty quality exclusives. Now, mainly, they have committed; they're all going to be available on PC, but I think that might change the narrative a little bit, especially if Microsoft can say, "Hey, just to get on this, even if you don't have a PC, we've got this Series S that can play all these, and 2 years from now, who knows what it's going to cost you."
Yeah, you're not going to get 4K on your phone through xCloud.
No,
and a lot of people won't be able to get 4K on their computers. Even if they can play the game, they might not be getting 4K. So it is still kind of enticing to get the console, if that matters to you. The options it's unlimited. It's crazy. The last thing I was going to say was just that, I was downplaying Sony's strategy of making amazing games not being a good enough consumer-friendly move. That's still pretty great. It's a good reason to go get a console if all the games are must-haves, must-plays.
Yeah.
But if at some point, if that's the only thing you have, you do start to feel a little... It becomes the Nintendo problem. It's that's
Nintendo, what Sony is written on. I'll give Microsoft that Xbox Live is the better of the two online services.
Oh, for sure.
That by far. PlayStation has their little PS Now, but that's nothing compared to Game Pass. And even PS Now, to me, like barely beats out like the Xbox Live games with gold that just is part of your regular Xbox Live subscription. Sony is winning on the quality of their games, without a doubt.
Yeah, they need to. PS Now, that's a great point. The value there is nowhere. It sucks now. They need to really rethink how they handle that going forward if they want it to compete with, its analogous Game Pass counterpart. So, all right. So that's Xbox/Sony. We talked about a lot of, because we can't not talk about Sony apparently. But we got some Nintendo news too. We had a big announcement. We had a shadow drop once again. Jason was mad. He was mad that I said I didn't want the shadow drops anymore from Nintendo, and I really didn't mean I didn't want the shadow. I just didn't like that one. I thought it was silly that they shadow dropped such an important 35th anniversary thing. Like, I feel like we could have done with a little bit more pomp and circumstance. But this was great. This being Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. Woo, that came out of left field in the best way.
Yeah,
because there were no leaks.
I had no inkling that this was a game that was even in somebody's eye, much less coming out this year.
Yeah, nobody did, and that's pretty awesome because a lot of people chalk it up to it being a Koei Tecmo game. People were they were looking for Nintendo and looking right past or right over or not even anywhere in the general vicinity of Koei Tecmo, and so that's why they were able to keep it such a close secret until they announced it. But yeah, so this is a Warriors game in the vein of the Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors, all those Musou 1 versus 1,000 men in an army kind of thing. Sean, what is your hit?
I was saying, have you played any of these?
I have. So I dabbled in Dynasty Warriors. You know, I would rent them on consoles I had throughout the years, but it was always just like, this is whatever. And then I played a lot at the beginning of the 3DS. There weren't a lot of games, but one of them was Samurai Warrior Chronicles 2 or something like that. It was the so Dynasty Warriors is the Chinese, like, you know, folklores and heroes and stuff, and the Samurai Chronicles or Samurai Warriors, whatever they call it, is the Japanese one. And so I played a lot of that. That was a really fun game and kind of made the 3DS my, you know, go-to console for the longest time. And eventually I did purchase Hyrule Warriors for the Switch, and I did play it to completion. Like I rolled credits. Now these games go on forever. They're all about the, you know, keep progressing and grinding out and making stronger and do the hard modes and the hard paths. And maybe there were like more secret missions I didn't unlock. And I know I didn't unlock all the characters because that game had like a stupid amount of characters from all the Zeldas and just so much to do. But I did play it and it was a lot of fun. I am of the opinion that not everybody, but a lot of people would like Musou's more than they do if they could find the right theme. And lately, Koei Tecmo, who is behind all of these games as the developer anyway, has been, you know, making these partnerships with Dragon Quest, with Fire Emblem, with Zelda, and being like, okay, we've got an okay game here, but nobody really cares about, you know, Lu Bu or whatever his name is from ancient China. Like, they just have no connection to him. They do have a connection to Zelda and Link and Ganondorf and all those other characters. And so, like, what was somewhat appealing but pretty stale and boring to them becomes far more entertaining and interesting and really gets their hooks in. What's your history with it?
I've really thought about playing the Fire Emblem Warriors. I remember, I think, came out before Hyrule Warriors got re-released on the Switch, or I may be remembering wrong.
Yes, I think you're right.
And so when that came out, I really thought about playing it, and then the same thing with Hyrule Warriors, and I never got them. I mean, they look just fun. I mean, I guess I didn't expect either of those two to have maybe riveting stories, but watching them and reading about them, they just sounded like they were fun games. So I mean, I had thought about checking out. I mean, this one, you know, with that waiting for Breath of the Wild 2 itch, you know, having something to scratch that itch, and then to get more of the Breath of the Wild world, to actually get to see like the Calamity, you know, the evil and darkness rising to Hyrule. I'm pretty excited about this. I think I'm going to pick this up when it comes out. If nothing else, I'm kind of hoping to get a little bit more time with the 4 champions. Maybe we get a little bit more out of the champions and get to know them better than we got to in Breath of the Wild or the what was the Ballad of the Champions, which it fleshed them out a little bit. But yeah, both of those left me kind of wanting more to know more of this version of Hyrule and the characters in it.
For sure. Yeah. So just to recap real quick, again, Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. It's coming out November 20th this year. They'll have more info later this month on September 26th, which I believe is a Saturday, which is a really weird date to have more information, but that's what they said, and I haven't seen a correction. And so it takes place 100 years before the start of Breath of the Wild, which is when everybody's still alive and Calamity Ganon has not destroyed the world. So it's a prequel, and we know the ending. And it's going to be a tragic ending, which is really the best way to do a prequel. Yeah. And so you touched on it just a moment ago, and it kind of ties into what I was talking about. It's like Musous are fun, but you need a touchstone. But even more than that touchstone, so like Hyrule Warriors, the story's kind of bad. Like, it's unique and there is one, but it's this fan service because the problem is, and that's something that that they're not going to have the same problem in this game. The problem is they're fan service games. They're like, how much cool stuff can we cram in here? And you can't really make a lot of sense out of that. And so you just kind of have to go like, oh, whatever. Everybody's here at once. It's an alternate dimension kind of thing. This isn't going to have that problem. It's going to have the opposite. It's going to have actual canon story to a Zelda game. It's going to be it's just so crazy. Nintendo's never done anything like this with like really any of their major IP. Specifically Zelda, though. Like, Breath of the Wild is going to have a prequel and then a sequel. Like 3 games. That's that
are all going to be the same length. Like, that's I mean, I guess maybe Wind Waker, Spirit Tracks, and Phantom Hourglass were all technically the same link, but
were they the same link?
I don't remember.
I feel like
Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker, or no, Phantom.
Yes,
Spirit Tracks. Yeah, Spirit Tracks and Wind Waker, I think, are. Phantom Hourglass may not be.
I think it's the other way. I think Spirit Tracks is the one that's far removed.
And that was, but going back to this Age of Calamity, that was the thing that struck me on the release was basically, that Koji Tecmo had said we basically were in direct conversations and contact with the Zelda team at Nintendo to make sure that we were getting the characters right, we were getting the story right, getting the world right. Like this seems much closer to Nintendo letting them actually build a game, that is, almost like on parity with like Capcom making the 2D Zelda games all those years ago.
Right.
I'm like, this is so timely. Is going to be a canon Zelda story and not just like, we let them use the IP to make something fun. I am, as I said before, I'm pretty excited about this. I haven't played one of these Warrior games, but I think it like I said, it looks fun. I like Link kind of in his knight armor, so I guess we might get to see like Link become the champion, and then all of them get their champion tunics or their light blue outfits and all that. So I think there's a lot of potential for this to be a very interesting game.
Yep, I'm very hopeful. I wish I could say play the other one, but it's like it'll be here before you know it, so I wouldn't pick it up. I don't want anybody to get like stale or worn out playing this style, because it can be very fatiguing, and you won't want to play the next one right away.
Okay.
So wait for this.
If this one really strikes a chord with me, at least I'll have a pretty good backlog of games to go back to and play. True. Not that I ever don't, but.
So this feels like a master move when it comes to like trying to. It's very Kingdom Hearts before Kingdom Hearts became too much of this. So like when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out in 2002, there was a sequel on the Game Boy Advance.
I remember
which was a totally different environment and style of gameplay.
Is that the card battle one?
Right. So you would run around and you would fight. I'm not going to get into that. But yes, there is a card battle. But the story was, on one hand, a rehash of the original story, it was also new. And it fed into the next game. And it was this nice little, like, refreshing, totally kind of off the wall, wasn't kind of expecting it, holdover to the next one, which was then amazing. And I can't help but feel reminded of that when it comes to this. And then just a smidge worried that they might overdo it and turn into turn into Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15, where they just came out with way too much extracurricular stuff. I don't think they will. I think that's unlikely, but
I think Breath of the Wild 2. This is similar to when Ubisoft came to Nintendo about the Mario Rabbids game. I think like somebody came with a great idea, and Nintendo had the wherewithal to be like, we think this would work out pretty well.
Yeah. And it looks good. It looks really, really good. It looks exactly like Breath of the Wild, if not a little better. And if you've seen stuff from Hyrule Warriors, the one on Wii U and Switch, it's old. And it looks old and it looks ugly by comparison. So it'll be nice to play one of these games in a really cool art style, because I do love the Breath of the Wild art style.
Well, and it's perfect timing for Nintendo too, because I was just reading stuff like last week of people complaining about how like Nintendo has no big fall release. Yeah, they're being Nintendo again, and they're having a drought of games, and Nintendo's like, nope, we're great. Here, have new Hyrule Warriors, more Breath of the Wild for you.
Yep, they've got a September, October, and November game. Boom, 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 right there for the holiday season. So they're in good position now. And then they did mention Breath of the Wild 2, and this was like just, it was very small, but like it really just made this a perfect kind of presentation. They mentioned Breath of the Wild 2 still being a ways off. They won't be ready to show it yet. Yep. I was listening to somebody earlier that said probably very likely that we might see it at the Game Awards. That would be like the next most likely place, I should say, to see more information. That'll give us like, about a month after this Age of Calamity game comes out to put some time between them, and then if we're lucky, maybe we'll see it in spring, summer at the very latest, the end of next year.
You're saying just to get a look at it?
Just to get a look at it, we might see it at the Game Awards at the end of the 2020, and then we might get it in our hands to play in like spring. Yeah,
that would be awesome. I'll be honest, I would be very surprised, but I can't remember how quickly Majora's Mask came out after Ocarina.
Too quickly. It was like a year, like literally, like maybe 2. It's insane. But this game it's in the same, presumably, like all the assets and the engines and the resources are the same, and they've been working on it for a while. This isn't something it wasn't like they announced it and started working on it. This is the reason some of the DLC was so sparse, was because they had a lot of ideas and then they ran with it. It's like, no, we're going to make a sequel because this deserves a full game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If I get a Legend of Zelda next year, I will be extremely happy and content, and that'll probably take up the entirety of the next year for me because Breath of the Wild ate up at least 120 hours of my time.
I know.
And I will happily, if it's the same level of quality, I will happily do that again. So we had one other, I guess, more rumor coming out of Nintendo this week with regards to...
you might be able to play that new Zelda game on a new Switch.
Yeah. Apparently Nintendo some developers are saying Nintendo has come and talked to them about them being able and ready to make 4K games or 4K Switch games. So just another indicator there that Nintendo may actually be looking at upgrading their hardware and putting out following in the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro and putting out kind of their own mid-generation upgrade.
I still don't. We talked about this 2 weeks ago when we were all three together. I still don't see the benefit of this. Like, again, even more so than the Pro and the One X. I don't see, if you're not going to really beef it up to be able to play not next gen games obviously, but stuff that's coming out like right now, and be able to get it onto the Switch within a quick, because that's the other problem, is these games take so long to get to the Switch even when it's possible. Like Doom Eternal's still not here. Where is Doom Eternal? Where is it?
Probably waiting for me to get back to beating Doom.
Probably. But it's cool. Like it could just be a very small, like literally just an upscale to 4K, because that means a lot of things. Like 4K isn't as amazing as people sometimes think it is. I think it's good. It's nice to have that higher resolution, but it doesn't mean better graphics. Like it's the easiest thing to do, I think.
All right, yeah, and it doesn't mean better performance. I mean, graphics are big, but there's a lot more things going on underneath the hood on video games than just rendering the graphics.
Absolutely. So we will see. They in addition to that, they also have, like, I think I saw an article yesterday, maybe today, that they're having factories, they're having their suppliers, like, they're ordering more Switches, like 20% more, to meet demand from customers and stuff. Oh. So, yeah, the Switch train is barreling straight ahead.
It's still chugging along.
Still chugging along. And the last piece of news is Ubisoft had their show today, I think. It was Ubisoft Forward.
Today.
Which was like their final like summer showpiece thing. We didn't watch it. Probably catch it sometime this week and report back on that. I personally don't ever play their games, almost ever. Like, there's a couple. Sometimes I look at Assassin's Creed and think maybe, but I don't do Watch Dogs Legions. I just don't do most of their games except for Mario plus Rabbids, which was awesome.
I would say I think the last 2 games I played by Ubisoft was Mario Rabbids, and it was like the indie branch of Ubisoft. I want to say made Child of Light.
I did play that too, yeah.
So, but again, that's like their indie branch, so I don't know if that counts.
I say no.
Yeah.
They funded it, and that's cool, but like it's not part of them and their studios, suite of studios and their culture and all that stuff. So anyway, if you want to go find out what they're offering in the next few months / year, go ahead and take a look at that. And that is the news. And I'm gonna make a note right here. 52 minutes in on the video. Super duper. Do you want to go take a break real quick or anything? Or
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Ready? All right, Sean. What do you wish you were playing
So mostly I am looking forward to what I get to play come Tuesday when my stuff arrives, which includes my Xbox and my PlayStation, which means I'm just looking forward to playing anything but probably Skyrim or Titanfall 2, because we've established those are apparently the games that I just dream about. If I'm being honest, I'm looking forward to getting Jedi Order or Jedi Fallen Order back, because I was pretty far along. I'm like, I think I'm about halfway through Dathomir, and I think that means I'm somewhere near the end of that game, and I would like to get back. Although that game's gonna be just a pain in the butt to try to get back into, because my timing and my understanding of the mechanics is gonna be totally off. So I'll probably give that a try, and then we'll see if beating my head against it is successful, or if I just call it a day and move on to different games.
I mean, easy mode in that game is real easy, so you can always just drop it down.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about it. I think you can change the difficulty on the fly on that one. So
on the fly, work. I did it all the time. Yeah. How do you like that game? I
really enjoy it. I'll agree that is it Cal? What's
Cal?
Yeah. Cal is a bit of he's not a blank slate of a character, but he's the next. He's as close as you can be to a blank slate and still be a character. Like there's not much to Cal.
Yeah. But it's almost worse that he isn't a blank slate.
Yeah, and I mean, really, there's no. I can't really. I mean, except for your little droid, I can't say any of the characters have endeared me to them.
Yeah,
but I like the combat. I like the little bit of slower pacing. I've had some really cool moments where I snuck up on a group of stormtroopers and scout troopers, like wall run, deflected the blast and took a stormtrooper down while wall running, jumped off, took out the strongest scout trooper, and then force pushed a guy off before I took out the last two. So it has given me those I feel awesome moments. And I've had a pretty good time with it so far.
Cool. Yeah, it was definitely not a bad game. I remember the difficulty feeling just even on the quote unquote normal. It's okay, this part's easy, and then this part's unspeakably difficult. Yeah, and the unspeakably difficult parts was always the mooks. I'm like, why am I struggling on this one dude? Can I please just move on to the boss?
So the only thing that's the first boss, that really big double-sided red lightsaber person you fought on Kashyyyk, took me 3 or 4 tries to beat, and that was really just kind of learning the patterns. I will say the generic inquisitors that you occasionally encounter, I have basically made a point that if I ever see any of them, I will figure out whatever cheese way to quickly defeat them. Okay, if I approach you from this side, I can force push you off the edge and call it a day, because fighting them actually is a pain in the butt. But I don't have trouble taking on scout troopers or stormtroopers. I've had pretty good luck there. Dathomir is so far pretty tough. Turns out a race of Darth Mauls is mildly terrifying.
Dathomir's dope though. That was a fun planet, awesome. Pretty much through and through.
I don't remember if you one of the earlier Star Wars books, one of the ones that came out not too far after Timothy Zahn put out the Grand Moff Thrawn trilogies, was the something of Dathomir. And that was the first time we ever saw that. Like Han Solo won the planet in a game of Sabacc or something like that. It was ridiculous.
What? That's crazy. No, I didn't read that one.
Even written way back then. And it's I don't think they were their own species at the time. But it is it's always been an interesting planet. I think back then they used to ride on Rancors. But it's always just been a fascinating and also extremely deadly planet.
Zabrax, is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's what the race is now.
That's Darth Maul, those guys with the horns and whatnot.
Yeah, him and what's his brother from the Clone War series?
I don't know. I'm gonna watch that soon though. I'm almost done with Avatar.
You should.
Legend of Korra, and then I'm gonna watch Clone Wars.
It's definitely the best piece of Star Wars prequel material that you're gonna find.
That's what I hear. That's what I'm. Fingers crossed is true, because those prequels, man, those are quality films and they're hard to beat. So, anything else you wish you were playing?
No, I'm pretty good. What about you?
I don't know. I mean, I always wish I was playing something, but there isn't anything that's jumping out to me right now. I mean, something I can play. I guess I'm probably just in a holding pattern until the Mario game comes out, because I'm ready to play that. But yeah, I do hope to get it a little bit more Divinity Original Sin 2, and I'm just kind of real slow burning that one. Like I play usually I don't like to play story heavy games for like short bursts, but I find it's just not that big a deal because quick save, boom, I can save anywhere, whenever, like because it's a PC game, so it's built like that.
So your Balthazar reloading. I see.
I'm what?
So in Baldur's Gate, there was a fan, like this was way back in like the early internet forums days and I think he was called Balthazar, and he got this like he would always like save and then reload if the smallest thing went wrong. So he constantly saved to the point where in the expansion for Baldur's Gate 2, you run into this group of adventurers and you can and they're like you're epic level by the time in that game. And so you're super powerful and you can convince these low level characters. One thing I think is this Balthazar guy to go like run and to like, hey, I need you to go do, like, you're like the quest giver essentially for them. And they come back and they decide that they're hot stuff and they try to attack you. And you easily just like, it just goes into cut, like a little, like not quite a cutscene, but like still within the regular graphics, but you can't control anything. And it just like a scripted thing. And it kills everyone. And then the screen just goes, Balthazar reloads and they reload. And he's like, oh yeah, here's the items you asked for. Thanks for that gold. Bye.
That's really funny.
Yeah, so
I'm trying not to save scum. The only time I do that is it's one of those like wow, I really didn't mean to click that or fight you kind of thing. And then sometimes it's just I do use it as like I'm testing the waters kind of thing, because it's like it's so hard to know.
I rag on this Balthazar guy, but you want to know how I played Baldur's Gate 2? I mean. That game has so many options, so many random things. Of course, I'm like, gonna save and see how this plays out for me.
Yeah, and younger me would have done that too. But for the most part, unless I really hate the outcome of something, I'm like, that's fine. We can roll with that.
I can fight this red dragon. This will go fine.
Yeah. No biggie. But yeah, I don't have anything super pressing that I wish I was playing right now.
I wish you were playing Final Fantasy IX because I need stuff to work out to.
I know. I love it so much, but it unfortunately it turns it into a chore, and I hate that. And it's hard to find time to add one more thing. But I do want to get back to playing Final Fantasy IX all the way through because I do love that game, and I would like to play it. It's somebody else that I follow on YouTube is playing it, and I want to watch his playthrough, but I don't want to watch his and then not feel like any motivation to do mine because that's what'll happen. So I have to play through mine so I can watch his.
You just need to do this right now. You need to do a YouTube video of you watching him play his.
Perfect. Yes, I like that.
Then it's minimal effort for you. So
Jason's probably like just cringing. He hates this kind of stuff. But I have been playing one thing specifically. I finished playing it, and that is Ghosts of Tsushima. I beat it. I rolled credits. It was a very, very good game. It was a great game on the Karch Joseph Palashti scale of games and ratings and whatnot. Yeah, it was just a really good experience. Bravo, Sucker Punch.
But not a perfect game on your scale.
No, not a perfect game. Not a perfect game. Way too many just like little things, and just overall, just kind of weak in certain areas. Like the gameplay's really fun, and I don't think I have anything bad to say about it. Like, I mean, is it repetitive? I don't know, maybe. I don't think so, though. There's a lot of options, and when you get bored doing one style, you can switch it up and do another style. The story's really good, but it's held back by its structure and the way that they do the side quests. I feel the side quests are too disconnected from the main story. I feel like the payoff for those side quests is not big enough. And as I mentioned the last couple of weeks, there's just this... It's just too many little like iterations of the side quests of the tales they call them. I don't need to do 9 of them.
Because we talked about this last week, how like the side quests too, they're disjointed from the overall arc. Like the way that is it Jin?
Jin, yeah.
Yeah, behaves in the side quest doesn't quite match up where he's at right now in the overall story. And I was reading an article about, I think it was a writer for Horizon Zero Dawn. And she was talking about when it came to writing the side quests and I think the voice actor was a part as well. It was like they were very cognizant of that fact that like, oh, this side quest can be done at any time, and we have to make sure like we structure it in such a way that it'll still work no matter what like Aloy is currently going through in the game.
Yeah. And that's I don't like open world games because of that. Like I find that I feel like figure a way out around that, because there are a few of them that get locked off before, like you can't do that. You can't do this, continue it until the main story. But when I think back on it, I'm like, there was no need to, aside from the fact that it was in an area of the map that I couldn't get to until then. Like that was technically the only gate, because there's nothing about the story, main story, that was like spoiled in any of these. So I don't know why.
I think the game that did a good job of this actually was, I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2, but Red Dead Redemption, I recall like, you know, that was a game where I think I did everything in the first game. It was crazy. But like I would clear out an area, and then you'd get further on the storyline, and you'd be like just checking the map, and you'd be like, oh well, hey, I cleared out all the quests in this town. Why they're now quests? And so certain quests would only show up once you were at certain stages of the game, and so they were much more. They felt much more connected with the game's, you know, the storyline and what John Marston was going through at the time and all that.
Very cool. Yeah, I wish I had time to play that. Or the patience, because it sounds like a very tedious game.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2. I think my brother Kyle bought that for me a couple years ago, and I'm going to play it at some point. But like I hear just like not even trying to do everything, just trying to get through to the end of the main story is like a 90-hour endeavor, and it's like it's crazy. Like I really enjoyed the first game, as demonstrated by the fact that I like did everything in it, but I don't know if I have that much time, guys.
But I love the ending. It surprised me. The ending of Ghost, that is, and not like the very, very ending, not the wrapping up of the whole Mongol invasion part. That part was pretty expected and just kind of like, but not something I normally ask for in these kinds of games. Like I don't usually bang the I want to choose drum, but in a game about honor and choosing to walk the path of the samurai or the path of the ghost, etc., and the way that they handle Jin walking those two paths and reconciling with his, you know, love for his people and his hatred for the Mongols and his love for his uncle, who's, you know, the very classic stoic samurai that he wants to appease, etc. I felt like maybe choice would have been really helpful in this game, but that's hard to do. So
yeah, this is definitely a game that I will definitely like to borrow off you once I get settled in, because I think I'll greatly enjoy this game.
I think you would too. I think you can. I think it's a very Sean game,
despite its lack of broadswords.
Yes, exactly. You only get the one sword, which I love. I love the way they handle equipment in this game. It's so nice. You get a handful of armors, quite a bit, and they all do something pretty different from each other.
Oh, cool.
But you only get one weapon, and you get just a handful of ranged, and then the customization comes in like, you know, little charms that you can swap in and out that do different things. But yeah, it's not too complicated, but there's still a lot of customization, and it just rides that line for me perfectly.
Nice. Yeah. This one from when you started talking about it, probably over a month ago, it has been
2 months ago.
I think I definitely want to play this.
I recommend it to anybody who likes games remotely like this.
I can also tell you what I don't want to be playing.
What don't you want to be playing, Sean?
I don't want to be playing Windbound anymore.
One of us.
So I picked this back up. I played it a little bit after record the podcast last weekend, and then I picked it up yesterday. And so when I played after the podcast, I finished off chapter 4. I'd done all this work to upgrade my boat. I had a ton of resources. I'd gotten these gems that you need that allow you to build, like they let you build better bows, but I already had like the thunder bow, but they also let you build you can build figureheads to put on your boat. They give your boat like special abilities. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna I had all that, and I was like, I'm gonna real quick knock out the trial, get myself to chapter 5. And then I'm gonna, once I get, because every time, I don't know if you notice when you load into a chapter, like there's always like an island right in front of you, and it's just a generic island, has like the pig guys, good for basic resources, good for taking your time to upgrade your boat. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. So I beat chapter 4, and then I saved. And yesterday I went back to go play this game again, and I got to the island, and I was like, all right, so let me just go to, you know, I had built these little stands that allowed me to keep like extra of the bags that you keep on, or the pouches that you keep on your character, to put them on my boat. And that was where I stored like all my inventory. And I went there, and like all my little stands that should have held my bags were just, the stands were there and the bags were gone. And I had like a pot where I kept some stuff too, or a basket, and that was all the items were gone. The game glitched, and like when it at the start of chapter 5, which is the at the start of a chapter is the one time it auto saves on its own, and I lost like my entire almost my entire inventory and supplies, including these items, and so I'm done. I like this game. I defended this game for the most part last week. Yeah, I could deal with the glitches that crashed, and I got to go replay some stuff. But I have a save now that has resulted in me losing all of my nearly all of my items, and I probably have enough where I could actually beat. Like, I've got my bow, I've got my bow and arrows. Like, I've got enough stuff that I could harvest before the end that I'm sure I could beat this game. But I'm like, it's just losing all my stuff, and that option to like do this final upgrade of my boat for the finish. It's just like I'm just it broke me, and I'm not going to play it anymore. So, rah, angry Sean.
Rebel. Now, I don't think we mentioned it last week, but this game has an option when you start to. It basically has like that rogue light-esque quality where like you lose your stuff when you die. You can just turn that off. I don't think you can once you've started the game, but before you do, you get to choose. Do you want to lose all your stuff every time you die?
Do you want survival or story?
Right, and so you don't have to go through this stuff.
But I didn't die.
I know you did. I'm saying you being anybody else, and you might have, even if you had picked story mode, you might have glitched anyway and still lost all your stuff.
And that's the thing is I did pick story mode because I realized I want to beat this game, and I was like, but I don't want to beat my head against this game. Yeah, and so I had picked story, and I had no issues playing the game. Well, like the difficulty wasn't a problem for me in the survival. Maybe it would have been on survival mode, but the biggest difference I really saw in survival mode was, hey, if you die, you go back to chapter 1 with nothing but like the top row of your items still in your inventory. Whereas stories, if you die, you go back to the beginning of that chapter with all of your items.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just like really
sad.
Like had intended to finish it. Yeah, because it's just there's like there's a kernel of a game here that I really want to play and I really want to see done, and I just this is not that game.
Someday though, maybe someday.
So I just want to be an awesome survival sailor. That's all I really want to be in life.
Tuesday's coming, Sean. Tuesday's coming.
Besides that, I did not play any fitness boxing this week because I was lazy this week, and also had a lot of paperwork and stuff to move into a house with.
Yeah, it's not simple. I got a buddy at work who's going through it right now. I think he had his appraisal and they came in under, unfortunately. Okay, but it wasn't too bad for him. But yeah, he's having a hard time with it. It's not easy. So Godspeed to both of you.
Yeah, my water got turned off for like half of today, or like last night half of today, because there's confusion when like my wife and I took over the property, and
right.
It's just little headaches. I mean, I think I'm through most of them. I'll get my stuff on Tuesday, which fingers crossed won't create more headaches. Last time I was moved by the military, my couch just disappeared, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen again.
I want a couch. Yeah. Give it back.
What do you mean you lost my couch? Oh, it just disappeared. And I was like, I feel like somebody at this moving company just got a new couch.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that sounds infuriating, but you know it's more infuriating?
What?
Skyrim's got me all flustered and bothered and mad because Jason is playing Skyrim again. He's like, don't play Pokemon, Karch. And I'm like, Jason, stop playing Skyrim. Because let me read you something. I don't know where Jason is, but he is contacting me and sending me things just to kind of irritate me. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? And he's like, I've been playing Skyrim again. I'm like, oh, don't do that. And he's like, nope. And then he gave me this spiel. It's like, I'm Brock, a Red Guard bartender that got mixed up into this by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I double as a bouncer, so GTFO of my way. And I'm like, guy, you just spent more time on this rando Skyrim character in a text to me than you did your entire, 5 sessions in D&D. You were doing it.
Where is this level of background when he's playing
Why is
D&D
Jarmo so boring? It's because he falls asleep. Jason, you suck. You suck.
Jason, I'm sorry that my D&D sessions can't replicate 2011 graphics for you. Like, it's just, I'll try to learn how to program or something, but I'm sorry, man. I just can't do it.
Can't do it.
So I
think
have
Skyrim's got you mad too.
Well, because he got talking about Skyrim, and he had wherever he is, he realized that he didn't have it. He didn't have his physical copy for his Switch. And then he realized he could download it on his Surface laptop. And him and I both have Surface Laptop 3s, and I actually have one of the better models than him. And he found out you could play Skyrim on the laptop. And like, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like on my drive from like Alaska to Florida, one of the things I spent most of like my spare time doing, sitting there in the car in the hotel rooms, was I started building like this perfect mod list to play on my Xbox One Skyrim, which is a lot more like limited in scope. Like you got limited space, limited spots, and obviously a more limited selection. And I'm sure that I'm going to be heavily limited on the laptop and what the laptop can handle. But now I got to go through that all over again, except I'm not. And I told my wife to ban me from playing Skyrim on the laptop because I don't need that to eat every ounce of spare time that I have. So,
Jason, this is your fault. And Skyrim, this is your fault. Todd Howard at Bethesda, this is your fault. Oh, next thing you know.
Next thing we're going to know is like Todd Howard's going to shadow drop Elder Scrolls 6 umptity squat, and I'm going to be doomed.
You're going to be doomed to buy a new something because you can't play it right now. You won't be able to on your crappy hardware.
You're right. I'll have to buy myself an Xbox Series S.
Exactly. Nice and cheap. For the cheap game, Elder Scrolls 6. Don't make me laugh. Ugh. Yeah, more like Elder Scrolls 76. All right, I'm done bragging on Jason and Skyrim. All right, let's move on to the topic of the show. Jason, by the way, didn't send in a listener question.
Oh, lame.
So we don't have a listener question today.
I mean,
I guess if he sent it somewhere, I don't know where he would have sent it. It's not in our email.
I mean, the topic of the show was a listener question.
Yeah, but now the listeners become the speaker, so it doesn't count, Sean.
Do you want to do my random listener or my joke listener question?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Let's move on to the topic of the show. Sean wrote it and said, if you had to pick a game to get someone started off in gaming, what would it be? Recognizing that, yes, you would likely recommend different games to different people, but, in general. This is a good question, because it's not something I typically have the opportunity to do. I have a daughter, and she's 7 now, and we've been working, we being me, has been slowly be like, okay, well, trying to really just get anything to grab her attention so that she might then move on to the next level of wanting to play video games and stuff. And then having it backfire when she wants to play Animal Crossing for 17 hours a day.
Those were the days.
But what's your answer, Sean? This was your question, so what do you got?
So, yeah, the way I thought about this was, I wanted to recommend something on modern hardware, because I thought about recommending something older, but then they're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm playing games now, and they're going to be like, wait, but that's what's coming out now, and I was worried like the dichotomy would be too tough for them. So I decided if I was going to recommend a game, it's definitely going to be a Switch game, because it's less expensive, it's accessible. Nintendo in general kind of has this friendly demeanor, and I also figured like even if they hadn't played quote unquote like real games, there's a good chance they had at least seen or heard of Nintendo, maybe had played like Mario Kart or Mario Party at a friend's house or some random get together. But I didn't want to just recommend those, because I wanted to actually give them something like meaty to dig into that would be like a gateway to more stuff. So I really settled on Mario Odyssey, because
it's a good pick.
Odds are good. Somebody has they know of Mario. I think we somewhat commented last week that like Mario is probably as well known as Mickey Mouse at this point. Like he is the face of gaming for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
The game is fun. It's excellently done. If you hadn't played, stuff like Mario Kart, Mario Party, it's going to easily springboard you into those really fun games. But also it's going to springboard you into all of Nintendo's franchises, whether it's Metroid or Legend of Zelda. And from there, you got a pretty good chance of finding like a genre and a niche that you like in gaming that will take you elsewhere.
It's easy. Like, I think there's like, they took out the ability to like, there's no game over anymore. You lose coins when you die, and if you have no coins, then nothing happens to you.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if this has an even easier, like if, I don't know, I know other Mario games recently did, but if you die a lot, do they give you like a perk or something? Because in like 3D Land, for instance, which is a lot more level based, if you died like, I don't know, 6 or 7 times in a row like I did, they do offer you this like impervious raccoon suit where you can just like fly the whole time and you can't die.
I didn't encounter anything like that in Mario Odyssey, but I don't
remember that either.
Didn't get steamrolled by anything in Mario Odyssey, but that's
I'm a
the
good
thing.
gamer.
I am. I'm a professional casual gamer. Damn it. I think it'd be something great, and also that way they can it's on the Switch, so they can play it in the handheld, and it's not going to have to take up the TV in their household if there's other people trying to use this. I just feel that the Switch is the ideal console to get someone started on nowadays. And then I think Mario Odyssey is the game that is going to be fun and enjoyable, and then kind of springboard you to other great video gaming experiences. So what about you, Karch?
I had like a 3-part answer. So first, I'm approaching somebody who just never play video games, but for some reason they're asking me, I want to play video games. I would probably introduce this. So we're talking about like a true neophyte.
Yeah.
Somehow they've avoided it their entire life. I know they got a smartphone, and I know they've probably played something on it before, so I would start there. But I would pick something that has a touchstone to video games. So I picked Pokemon Go because it's super basic and has almost no like quote unquote video game qualities to it, except it does, at least more modern games. And there's a loop basically. You do little physically walk around and you go outside and you catch Pokemon, but there's resources to manage, and there are, things you upgrade the characters, the Pokemon, you do something. I don't know if you ever played it, but I think you catch the same one over and over again. And then when you have dupes, you like feed them back to
and feed it back to the ones to level them up.
Teaches you about like progression, essentially, I guess is the best way, because that's the name of the game for most gaming these days. You basically have games that have progression and games that don't, and the ones that don't do still have their own form of progression, but it's usually a skill that you're acquiring rather than something in the game that you're moving through. So I would do something like Pokemon Go, or a less insidious mobile game of some kind, because I don't want them to get like bogged down by the nastiness that is most free-to-play models.
Yeah, you don't want to throw them into like a gacha game or something.
Exactly. Even though this can be really fun, but you have to game the system. Like I played one for almost a year straight, and then funnily enough, when quarantine hit, I suddenly lost all the desire to play it, and it's kind of sad, but at the same time, whatever. It was a Final Fantasy one. What was it called? I've already forgotten the name. It was long and stupid, but it was really fun. Really fun.
I played Fire Emblem Heroes there for a little while, and that was fun. You can make decent progress in that game for a while, and and not have to. I mean, I never dropped any money on it, but I'll be honest, I didn't even think about the ubiquitous of smartphones, and that starting there would be kind of a more ideal place.
Yeah, the Fire Emblem's not a bad one if they have like an anime bend to them, because that game went so hard on the look at all the waifus and the husbandos, and it's like get your favorite guys and gals in skimpy outfits. I'm like, because I went back to that because I played it for like a second when it launched. I was like, nah, I don't want this, and then I went back to it, and it's a mess. I would never actually let anybody play that game if they've never played a game before.
there's like little storylines that the game has launched, and I got through like the first 2 or 3 of them. But then, I remember there would be like the seasonal events. I only poked my head in one of those once, and it was like the summer event, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was like, I see where the money is, or see how the money is being made on this game.
It's to my knowledge, it's their most profitable mobile game.
And
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So moving on, they want to play real games, quote unquote. They want some more traditional gaming. It's really hard. And I only say this because, kind of piggybacking off of what you said, because the Switch is so good. The Switch is really what you give them. But the thing I will point them to on the Switch is the very cheap Nintendo Switch Online subscription. And you've got a huge back catalog of really solid NES and SNES games, and then specifically, of course, Super Mario World. That is a perfect game on the Karch Pulaski scale of game rating. You've got a D-pad. You've got 2 buttons with the occasional third when you need to do the spin jump to break blocks. And it still looks amazing to this day. It's not old and archaic and ugly like the original
Nintendo
Super Mario Bros.
They age so well.
Yep, and the difficulty curve is really good. Like you will breeze through those episodes, those levels, as long as you're not completely terrible at it. And it's it's just a great game, and it teaches you really basic platforming that you can springboard off into any number of games or just the Mario gaming universe in general. So yeah, always play Super Mario World. It's a great game for all ages.
I think Super Mario World, and we've talked about it several times. I'm almost beginning to feel like that might get my title of like most classic, like most timeless game.
It is. It is, man.
I don't think there's any time where I'd be like, I don't want to play Super Mario World. Like it was groundbreaking and amazing when it came out, but it's still just such a top-notch game. And part of that's because of like the time period that Super Nintendo occupies is the end of the 2D of the purely 2D era. But that game, I don't think there'd be any time where if you hand that to me, it's like, Sean, play Super Mario World, and I'd be like, no. I'd be like, no. All right, yeah, this is fun, great.
Yeah, I don't want to live in a world where I'm tired of Super Mario World.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like Super Mario Bad World. I got nothing. That was a bad joke. Didn't work. And then my last answer, barring any of those, like I would find a modern console, like a PS4 or an Xbox, not a PC. PCs suck. They're confusing. But I would find, their interests, whatever those are, whether they like Harvest Moon style, whether they like platformers, whether they like shooter, whatever appeals to them. And I would just give them like the non-Dark Souls version of that. Like I wouldn't give them something that's known for its difficulty. But I would find the most modern game that suits their interest, because modern gaming has basically taken accessibility to a totally different level than it ever has been.
Oh yeah.
Difficulty, and not just difficulty, and not just for people with disabilities. It's anybody.
The Last of Us Part 2, like not only did it have difficulty settings, but like it had sliders for all these different categories. So you could tailor that game to be hard in the areas that you were really good at and wanted the challenge, and easy in the areas where you're like, I don't want to deal with this, or I'm bad at this. And that's pretty impressive.
Like, for instance, someone comes to me, they're like, I love Game of Thrones, and I watched The Witcher on Netflix, and that was a really cool thing, and I heard there's a video game about it, and I want to play that game. I want to be in that world more. I could recommend The Witcher to somebody who's never played a video game before, as long as they're not an idiot, because you still have to be able to read and remember things, and I know a controller can be, like, intimidating, but eventually you'll pick it up. If you put The Witcher on story mode, that game's a joke. Like, there is no difficulty to it, and you will pick it up, and you'll figure it out. And if you want to, you'll get through it. And so it's like, it's really any game. God of War has its story mode, which is stupid easy. Like, again, it's whatever they want at that point. But you can't do that with like games from even like necessarily a generation or two ago.
Yeah.
Because there was just this built-in difficulty, because that was just the way that games were designed. But these days, it's super easy. So
I also need you to direct all of the ones who like shooters to Titanfall 2, because again, I need bad people playing that game so that I can look good.
If you like giant robots and getting your butt kicked by Sean, go play Titanfall 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, your thoughts on the topic of the show vastly outstripping mine in their consideration.
What are you talking about? Topic of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a professional podcaster now, so I have almost 30 episodes under my belt, Sean.
Jason,
come on, man.
I need you to come back from Skyrim. Your shoes are too big to fill. I can't do this.
Come back from Skyrim. No, he's stuck there until he finds the Princess Dragon and weds her, and then meets Sir Patrick Stewart in the dungeon, and then marries him too. And I don't know what I'm talking about. I've never played any of these games past like the first 30 minutes.
I'm sure there's a mod that does that. You're probably spot on. And somebody's modded Skyrim. But
I want to play.
You understand? Like even if he was like, I'm gonna do the main quest in Skyrim, he is 20 seconds into that, completely off to the other side of the map, falling random quests and markers, and we're never going to see him again.
I did play I played like 2 to 3 hours of it when I went to his when we visited last. We did it in VR, and I couldn't tell you what the main. I don't know if it's because we just didn't get far enough in, but like the game does a good enough job. Like, you know, everyone jokes about not doing the main quest. I'm like, the game kind of hides the main quest into the world well enough that like I just feel like I'm always doing the main quest, which is like, you know, that's a positive thing I could say about a game I like to rag on a lot.
Well, Skyrim's interesting too, because the question is the main quest the Return of the Dragons, or is the main quest the Civil War? Because it treats both of them as like you've been caught with the head of the rebellion, and you as well as that guy are about to have his head chopped off by the general leading the Empire's defense, and then a dragon that no one has seen in ages shows up. So it's like Skyrim almost has 2 main storylines, and it's really which one do you that intersect there at the beginning, and they intersect at one other point in the game, and it's kind of like which one is, and then all like the companions and the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood and the College of Winterhold, like they all have like their own stories that like, hey, if you decide that your character is the guild master of the Thieves Guild quest is really more of the main quest. Like that's part of the beauty of Skyrim.
Yeah, it sounds like I said, it sounds like they do that really well. Even if I'm sure at some point I'd be like, man, I wish this felt more personal, but what are you going to do? And I will always hate first person. Like, it's just not my deal. But I think now we finally have access to it on the Switch permanently, like it's not going anywhere. Because I actually bought Skyrim for Switch. I bought it like the first year I had a Switch, like pretty soon after it launched. So buying it for $60 wasn't super ridiculous. And I played it and I was like, no, I just don't want it. I traded it in for something else. I think I got Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which was also a huge mistake. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think I'll play it again.
Karch bought Jason Skyrim on the Switch.
You know, I was trying to entice him to come back to the I wanted him to come back to the podcast, but it didn't work, and now he's lost in Skyrim.
See, and I'm gonna get his login because like I explicitly avoided getting Skyrim on the Switch because I decided like I was playing enough Skyrim when I had to like carve out time on the main TV without my wife needing it to play Skyrim. I did not need to be able to play Skyrim on a handheld wherever I wanted. Like,
well, I will tell him he can't give it to you, so you can't play it there, and then your wife will keep you from playing it on the Surface.
Good. And I'll just play it on my Xbox with all of my mods. Like, Parthenax intended.
I'm looking at this list of Ubisoft stuff, and yeah, it really just seems a little boring. There's that Immortals Phoenix Rising game, which you talked about, or I think before the show started.
Yeah, which was they used to be like God and Monsters, and they changed the name and changed the art style since we last saw it.
Yeah, it's all about exploration. This game will be broken into 4 regions. You will be able to literally go anywhere you want as soon as you start the game. Like, that's nice. I do like the sound of that, but at this point, you can't say that anymore and expect it to be interesting. Playable demo on Stadia, nobody cares. I think that biggest thing for me, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, is a really good game. It suffers from being not the best made game. Like, it's a great game, but it's janky as all get out. So a remake that gets rid of that jank and changes almost nothing else is going to be really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't mind playing that game again.
Yep. And some Watch Dogs stuff.
The Scott Pilgrim game is apparently still coming back or is still being made.
That's a big deal because they took that game off of the stores, like the online stores, because there was legal stuff, and then somebody somehow got a hold of it again, and so it's back. So that game was one of those. Is one of the few defenses, few defenses for like a non-digital world, because that game just disappeared and you just didn't have access to it anymore, and like you had no control over it, and it was never physical, if I'm not mistaken, and so you couldn't just like plug in your physical copy. And now it's coming back, and people are really excited about it. I think it's a beat 'em up though, so I mean, and I don't care about Scott Pilgrim, so again, it's one of those things. Just like, oh, good for you, but I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was it was a shorter show, but it was informative. It was jam packed. I think
we're efficient.
We are efficient. We don't waste time getting drinks and like this, Jason. We're not fourth whatever I'm drinking tonight. Oh, we love him. We can't wait till he's back from San Diego Skyrim. I'm gonna start calling. What did he call his stupid character's name?
Brock.
Beauregard. Brock. That's right. Not Beauregard. Brock. Brock the Red Guard. That's where I got Beauregard. I like Beauregard. I'm gonna call him Beauregard. A double as a bouncer. Oh, I'm so mad that he got all roleplay in his dumb single player game, and he won't do that with us in D&D. Oh well.
Maybe we should all play ESO together.
No, he's got feelings about that. You can talk to him about that sometime.
Yeah, it was really bad when it came out. I guess it's actually better as a single player experience now than it used to be. So I every time I see that it's on Game Pass, I'm like, I could give it a go.
Don't do it.
Like, or I could just go play Skyrim and download a few more mods.
That's what I tell myself with Final Fantasy 14, because you can play that game as a single player experience. People are like, it's one of the best Final Fantasy stories ever. I
downloaded that on my PS4 when I first got it. It's just as something to play for a little while, but I probably played like 2 hours of it, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this.
No, it's still an MMO. You can't dress that pig up and put the makeup on and tell me it's a lady or whatever the phrase is, because it's a pig, a nasty MMO pig. All right, any closing shots, Sean?
No, just looking forward to Tuesday.
Looking forward to Tuesday. Video games will be back. The episode should be up by then.
Yeah.
We're gonna get this up to Greg right away. We were recorded late last week, but we're on time, so everything else should be on time. I'll have the weekend to edit. If like I said, if I'm lucky, Jason will be able to either do it or help me edit it. And well, see, he can't do it though because he'll cut out the stuff where we make fun. You just gotta get that courier from Skyrim because you could be like in the middle of like a dungeon, and that guy will run up and be like, been looking for you. got a letter with your name on it. Your eyes only. And you're like, hey, dude, I'm fighting a dragon. How did you get here? He's really a god in disguise.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It's just Hermes. He is the messenger. So yeah, if Jason edits this, he's going to edit all this stuff out. We will. We'll hire him. Anyway, thanks for listening. You all have a great week. We will try, but we are never free to play. Did I mess it up this time, Jason? Did I mess it up this time? Because I feel like I did. We really want your feedback. Please give it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com.
And send in a question.
Send in a question, Jason.